Right. First things first. The Saskatchewan, nearly got it right, story that I had in the news section last week on removing smart meters turned out it was a loop story. So apparently that never went ahead, and my apologies on that. And this is kind of the stuff they keep putting out in the alt media, the old news stories, and generally I check them, but sometimes I get too busy, and that was one of them. A few things I want to cover before we get into the news, because it has been asked. Neither Kim or Kim's will have a website. The trust and the trustee are a private entity unto itself. That's why it was called the unknown country previously. It had no domain. It just ruled over everything, or reigned over everything. And it does not require a website. I know people keep asking for it, but the point is, the trust is not selling or promoting anything. That's what some people misunderstand. In essence, THI is the website. A week where you find out that not only Spreaker are slashing our listeners' numbers by over 50%, nice try, but Facebook is also deleting and cutting our numbers by several hundred. They got caught out this week, lowering the numbers, oh my. Plus you find out some members are being blocked from getting onto MeWe. And it's all going on now. You know, when you consider it's not bad interference for a tiny man and a tiny group, is it? You know, I would sooner be called a tiny man and group, but it's better than having a tiny mind and no heart. But there you go. Now, one of our members this week was moving home, and a regular member offered to help. And this is what pleases me most about doing THI, and it's what THI is all about, getting people to come together and supporting each other. Now, all was going smoothly until right near the end, but our own version of the good, not Samaritan, but good person, stepped forward into the role and rescued the day for both of them. The dame rode up on a shiny armoured 2005 GMC Savannah and saved the day, thanks to her. And it's nice to see and hear how some of the members are now starting to meet up. THI Oregon all came together recently and had a lot of fun together by all accounts. And that follows on from what I know anyway, Florida, Sweden and Ireland. And it's good to hear. Right, the good, the bad and the ugly describes the next few pieces about the alt media. And it is getting bad. The alt media, as predicted, has now gone into complete meltdown. And they're all calling each other out, exposing each other and themselves. And here's a few more examples of the collapse of the Loop News people alt media. Bear in mind, we're having enough of our troubles of our own within our group. There are people from the Keenan team, Cosmic Voice, ITNJ, and the Blue Chicken elements are in our group trying to disrupt again. So I ask all members to stay vigilant, and a warning that the end piece will likely leave you with a stitch in your sides due to laughing hysterically. So there's a warning ahead. The first piece is Alfred Weber, it appears, and co. are now going after Randy Kramer. You know, if only Alfred vetted his own guests in the same way. And one of our members sends me his guest list from time to time. And I do wonder if why I have any neck left or forehead by shaking or slamming my head against the desk. You know, 95% of the people who go on his show appear to be complete BS artists. But anyway, Alfred and his sidekick, Andrew Basiago has spoken with the former wife of Randy Kramer with regards to Kramer's alleged service in the US Marine Corps and also on Mars. Now, Randy Kramer's former wife reportedly told Andrew Basiago that Kramer had never been in the Marine Corps and has never been to Mars. Go figure. And that he was a former bartender who made up these fictions for profit and attention because he is a pathological liar, according to his wife, which was the cause of the marital breakdown. And Alfred went on to say, for full details, I urge you to call US chrononaut and Mars astronaut Andrew D. Basiago. Really? Chrononaut? Oh dear. They had clones back then. Why would they send humans? I'm not sure any ex-wife is going to tell you the real truth, but I digress. Whether Kramer was a Marine or not, I don't know or don't care, to be quite honest. What I do know is Randy Kramer now works for the SSP. He contacted us last year for funding. Having said in the call, the SSP's got lots of money and then asked for funds. Now, the kickback to this is that Corey Goode copied some of Kramer's story and moulded it into his own fiction, which he told a select few he's going to do back on the Avalon forum in late 2013, early 2014 time. And this is what these people have been doing in the alt media. You know, bear in mind, Corey Goode is an FBI infraguard agent and was also employed by the agencies on how to train trolls and shills for the alt media, you know, which he admitted to live on air on a Gaia TV show. And this is what we've been exposing. Now, what I'm also hearing is both Wilcock and Corey Goode are now facing several high-profile lawsuits for plagiarising other people's work. Time will tell. The latest round of information brought to you today by the letter L and the number 2 from Anna Von Reitz, who has launched another donation-based website, eerily reminiscent of our $1 plan, but that's fine, as I know it would work if people got behind it. And our latest is a rehash of the old strawman, legalese, reclaim your debt, titles and other things that has got people into trouble previously, or got people into more debt and or jailed. You know, asking people to fill in all kinds of papers with their social security number, their passport numbers, virtually all the private details of their lives. And yet we have some who complain or objecting to put their real name on Facebook or MeWe. Yet, fully enough, nobody asks Anna Von Reitz why she's asking for all the personal details. Nobody questions that. But these people that are on the internet telling you not to have a driver's license and reclaim homes and get money back from the government or the treasury, and worse, not pay taxes, are negligent at best and dangerous to the people at worst. Anna Von Reitz herself never paid her taxes and ended up in court. And even with all their legal expertise, being a judge and standing as a secretary to the Nazi Pope, she lost her cases in court, not only her tax case, but she also lost her home as well. You know, she's extremely knowledgeable of legalese, which is babble, and yet she failed in court twice. So what chance do us plebs have going in their courts with little to no understanding of how it works in their system? And that's the key, their system, not ours. And she knows this and should not be that irresponsible in pushing others into doing it. That she failed in her own court cases, as Heather Giraffe found out to her own cost. She ended up in court, and that ended with her in jail. She was told she was going after the wrong treasury. She didn't listen. But she's no innocent bystander either, because she's got background, despite her working previously for Jacob Rothschild, and also as the lead bank inspector for the IMF. They don't tell you that, do they? Now, Anna's latest is claiming back funds from the government, all $25 trillion. That belongs to the people, she said. And that's fine. I agree to a point. The people are owed millions of dollars each on birth certificates alone. But this is the key question. Who is going to pay for it, Anna? The government has no money. The Treasury has no money. Banks have no money. The bloodline families which you represent, funds are dwindling, which is why they're doing fire sales. The military or the DOD has no money. So who is going to pay back these funds? And how, if they are paid back, are you going to justify or balance the books of a $25 trillion injection? Because if you don't balance it, the American economy and subsequently the world economy will collapse before the bell finishes chiming on the Wall Street opening. You know, what part do you not understand?
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
If her answer is the trust, I would then ask why the bloodline families she represents, when they had control of the trust, did they not give the funds back to the people then? You know, is this the same trust that Anna von Reitz declared non-existent at first and then retracted? And then she said the trustee was a fake and a fraud and not the real trustee, only to retract again. The same trustee who's been trying to get funds out to the people for the last 3 or 4 years, only to be blocked by the same bloodline families groups and her partners in crime, Langley 2 and 3. Perhaps she needs to speak to them, as Kim's been ready to deliver the funds back to the people for a long time now. Next piece. Some people don't like that certain members are removed from the group, and I do get that. People get close and become friends and whatnot. But it's mine and the admin's task to protect the group for your benefit. You know, our group does get a lot more attention from humanity sellouts than most think possible. And all those, I remind any new members, all those who are removed get several warnings before being removed from the group. So instead of criticising the admins for removing your friends or people, you should ask your friends why they ignored several warnings to act right. Anyway, I received a message from the Australian tribe people this week, wanting for Kim and I to have another call with them, as they've done some path clearing since the last call we had with them, which didn't go too well. You know, they're going down the legalese route. It won't work. It just won't work. But hopefully, as time's passed, that they are correcting that. Now, apparently they themselves had concerns about our former member Jennifer Marquis Bell also, and have removed her from the group, citing her for suspect intentions and agendas were being ran against them. Like I always say, time always tells. Now, subsequently this week, I received a nice email from Jennifer herself, denying certain things she was accused of, but admitting her responsibility in other fields and requesting we all move on, which is fine by me. You know, I have far more pressing things to be dealing with than this type of nonsense. But the question is, why can't people act right to begin with? You know, not doing so just replicates the old control system behaviours, and we will not succeed in anything doing that. Now, one caveat which Jennifer reminded me, as I've mentioned a few times, that the Oz tribe were the ones that signed the deal with the Draco 16,500 years ago, and their modern descendants are doing their best to correct the error of their ancestors from the past. Final piece before we go into the news on the alt media tonight, and this is up there with the best of the lunacy Kent Dunn has to offer. It really boggles the mind. You know, the alt media is literally collapsing under its own bullshittery now. Please find a stable chair, or preferably lie down, and do not drink during this short piece. I swear this woman is a Clinton.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is November the 14th, 2019. I'm Cindy K. Courier. This morning I made a video asking, what if I ran for president? And since this morning I've been thinking, and I realize that if I ran for president, I'd be the only candidate not controlled by the banks. I'd be the only candidate not working for corporate interests. I'd be the only candidate running on land jurisdiction. And I'd be the only candidate who's ever created a money system, a sound money system for the people. And I'd be the only candidate who really knew how to make a deal that the American people could not refuse. So, Mr. Trump, and whomever else shows up in the field, I challenge y'all to a duel. Yep. I hereby announce my candidacy for President of the United States of America.
Oh dear, I told you it was going into meltdown. That woman's completely off a trolley, literally. You know, how people listen to her is beyond me. But Cindy K. Courier, President of the United States. Oh dear. Fun, this game, isn't it? Right, let's get into some more serious stuff. Well, here's some more fun in a roundabout way. And again, proving what we've said all along. And the younger brother of an alleged cryptocurrency fraudster is now on the run after swindling $4 billion out of investors. Has pled guilty to financial crimes. Konstantin Ignatov pleaded guilty to 2 counts of wire fraud, 1 count of bank fraud, and 1 count of money laundering as part of a deal that was unsealed in New York on Tuesday that will see him inform on his former co-conspirators. Now, as part of the deal, Ignatov, who is thought to be connected with the Bulgarian mafia, I think our members know who that is now, has been offered witness protection amid fears he and his family will be threatened. In return for information, prosecutors have said that they were agreed to drop all charges except for any tax violations he is found to have committed. and the case is linked to OneCoin, which is a cryptocurrency company founded in 2014 by Ignatov's Oxford-educated older sister, Ruja, and is based in Bulgaria. CIA then. Ignatova marketed the coin as a rival to Bitcoin based on the same blockchain technology which came out of Langley and the NSA that keeps track of transactions without a, quote, centralized banking ledger. There's your decentralizing. And rewarding those who host parts of the ledger with coins that can be traded. Now, in court last week, Ignatov revealed that he'd already received death threats from OneCoin investors angry that they were duped. Should have listened. And he claimed that someone in Sofia, the Bulgarian capital, put a gun in his back, bundled him into a minivan and drove him to the outskirts of the city. CIA again then. And Ignatov also claimed he was confronted by the Hells Angels, who were also linked with the agencies. And also part of that investigation is Mark Scott, a former attorney and US citizen, and he's accused of laundering some $400 million of OneCoin cash using a series of shell companies between 2016 and 18. Beggars belief. People will invest that amount in fresh air tokens, but it is what it is. More than 200 people have been blinded in a month after riot police hit them with shotgun pellets amid violent protests in Chile. Hundreds of people have been hit in the eye with rubber bullets during the protests, sparking a health crisis in its own right. And Chile's top medical body said 230 people had lost their sight, of whom 50 will need a prosthetic eye. And the doctor said this doesn't mean the patient will doesn't lose their vision, but they will lose their actual eye. This is according to Dr. Patricio Metza at the Medical College of Chile. He said, we're facing a real health crisis, a health emergency, given that in such few days we have had the highest number of cases involving serious ocular complications due to shots in the eye. Now, there's been growing anger over police brutality and prompted Chilean singer Mon Laferte to stage a topless protest at Latin Grammy Awards in Vegas last week. And the Chileans are enraged over inequality and also low wages, and are demanding reforms to healthcare, education, the pension system, and also the constitution. Now, the country's embattled leader or president, Sebastián Piñera, has announced several measures in a bid to appease the public mood, but the protesters want him to quit. A growing array of countries now where the people are saying, we've had enough. This is something that could have gone in the sub-intel. You know, I've warned about the medical people, how they're not interested in our health, and you'll find out more later on. This is two stories, one after the other, and it's sickening, really. But this is what happens when greed overtakes common sense in many ways. A Virginia doctor was accused of performing unnecessary surgical procedures on his patients, has been ordered held without bail while he awaits trial at a court. As a court was told, 173 women have alleged malpractice. Dr. Javed Perwez was charged last week with healthcare fraud after authorities said he performed unneeded procedures on many of his patients, including hysterectomies and tubal ligations. The magistrate judge Robert Krask ordered Perwez held without bail after the prosecutor said 173 women have come forward since his arrest on November the 8th to describe similar experiences, and the judge called the allegations deeply disturbing, whilst Perwez's attorney said he'd received a flood of unsolicited emails from patients praising and supporting the doctor. Yeah, right. Now, in a 4-year period starting January 2014, he was found to have performed surgery on 510 patients, with 42% of them having undergone at least 2 operations. And the prosecutors also alleged that he defrauded insurance companies by claiming fictitious ailments and charging healthcare providers for false claims. And records also show that Perwez has been investigated for medical malpractice. A South Dakota neurosurgeon has been accused of making millions of dollars by performing unnecessary and dangerous surgeries, including one that left a patient partially paralyzed. Dr. Wilson Asfoura enriched himself by using medical devices he invented during surgeries and receiving kickbacks from companies whose devices he used, without disclosing the arrangements. Now, the Department of Justice alleges in the lawsuit filed on Wednesday that Asfoura performed complex spinal surgeries that shouldn't have been done and has left at least one patient partially paralyzed. This is according to the Argus Sanford Health, the health system where Asfoura was working when he performed the surgeries in question, has also settled a whistleblower lawsuit for $20 million in penalties late last month. Like I said, if you think this is a one bad apple scenario, think again. These doctors are all on kickbacks. They get paid on how many vaccines and flu shots they give, and it's all about boosting their own wallets. Inventing surgeries. We had that doctor, I think was in Wisconsin, who told hundreds of people that they had cancer when they never. When it works out around $300,000 per cancer patient, you can understand why. Sickening. Not only are they going to change the phones, as warned, sometime during winter, only 5G will work, though I was told directly by Verizon and another service provider, but now they're telling you that if you have an older Samsung Smart TV, that you will have to get an upgrade, especially if you use Netflix. Netflix will stop working on these older Samsung Smart TVs and other streaming devices beginning December the 1st due to technical limitations, they said. And Netflix will no longer be supported on 2010 and 2011 TVs beginning on December the 1st. So if you got one of them, you're not going to be able to watch Netflix. There's another technical issue that's cropped up, and it may surprise no one, as it looks like Facebook's iPhone app may be spying on you. Well, I never. As reported this week by TNW, Twitter user Joshua Maddox recently discovered that the Facebook app on his iPhone was up to something unusual, observing that his camera was actually engaged in the background while he was simply scrolling through his Facebook feed. Now, the issue only came to light because of a bug in the current version, they always call it a bug, of Facebook app on iOS 13.2.2 that leaves the main feed slightly misaligned after you open a photo and then swipe it down. Now, this guy confirmed that he was able to duplicate the issue on 5 other iPhones that are running the iOS 13.2.2, although one running iOS 12 didn't show the camera. So essentially what they've done is, because they've been cut off, we told you about this in previous shows, about those security clearances, they're adding new apps and opening doors again. So it said you may want to look at all the other apps that you've given access to on your iPhone camera, as any iOS app that has this access could be secretly recording you. As a more extreme measure, you could always follow the advice of former FBI Director James Comey and put a piece of tape over your camera. And whilst this may seem a bit paranoid, the fact that Mark Zuckerberg, with a silent F, himself tapes over his webcam should make you think. Mark Zuckerberg tapes over his webcam. Oh my. Next piece of technology. The new Apple hardware that debuted at the company's event in September, and the iPhone 11 and the iPhone 11 Pro, along with the Apple Watch Series 5. You may have missed the part where Apple mentioned it would be releasing a new research app to invite users to participate in 3 new health studies. And the announcement itself was tucked into the debut of the Apple Watch Series 5 and Watch OS 6, which also brought Apple's new noise and cycle tracking apps along with it. Now, these new user-facing apps were designed to help users allegedly protect their hearing and help women track their menstrual cycles directly. Really? Oh dear. But it also forms part of 3 new health initiatives that Apple is undertaking in partnership with leading medical institutions. So what they're telling you is they're going to spy on your health. Still think those Fitbits and all those other things are something useful? No, they're loading your information into a database, which is then sent to insurance companies, and then all your medical insurance goes up without you knowing it. A law making it compulsory for children who attend school or daycare to be vaccinated for measles has been passed in Germany this week, and Germany's parliament approved the government's bill last Thursday with a majority of 459 in favour, 89 against and 105 abstentions. Now, the law means parents who cannot prove their children have been vaccinated for measles by August the 1st, 2021, will have to pay a fine of €2,500, which is $2,790. And the Health Minister Jens Spahn argued the compulsory vaccination is necessary because of an increase of the highly contagious and potentially deadly disease. Now, some parents and doctors have opposed the measure, and teachers and daycare workers, staff in hospitals and residents of refugee shelters will also have to be vaccinated. Now, Germany has recorded 501 cases of measles so far this year. This push on vaccinations is suggestive of a program that has failed in its original format. It's the same as the climate change. Global warming failed, so they roll out a new one. And it is a key victory for the alt media by us highlighting it, that they have to go to these lengths. And I have to say that getting desperate and petty enough to get petulant to find a new way to implement control. But people must resist their threats. You know, the lawsuits alone tells you these are clearly not working for and by the people. And fake politicians like the Canadian woman last week or so, staging non-vaccinated events, should be named and shamed. And it also shows you an example of why we shouldn't have these vaccines. You know, $2,800 ballpark. Fine. Okay, don't send the kids to school then. They'll soon panic, because that takes away another one of their programs, you see. If everyone says we're not going to school, you have to remember school is a program. You soon change tune. Protests have erupted across Iran after the government unexpectedly announced it was rationing petrol or gas and increasing its price. At least 2 people have been killed in the riots. Now, prices rose by at least 50% on Friday as subsidies on petrol were reduced, and the authorities say they want to free up money to help the poor in Iran. Now, Iran is already suffering economically due to stiff sanctions imposed by the US after Washington decided to pull out of the 2015 Iran nuclear deal. Now, under the new measures, a lot of Europeans and Americans are going to laugh at this, but that's their economy. It's different. Each motorist is allowed to buy 60 litres, which is about 13 gallons, of petrol per month at 15,000 rials, which is 13 cents a gallon. 13 cents a litre, which is 65 cents a gallon for gas. And each additional litre then costs 30,000 rials. And previously drivers were allowed up to 250 litres at 10,000 rials per litre. So now it's gone up to 15. So their prices initially were roughly 8 cents a litre, which ballpark is 40 cents a gallon. Now, the revenues gained from removing subsidies on petrol will be used for cash payments for low-income households, according to the government.